Things are ramping up, and we're 8 weeks away till the next presidential election, and you know who is pushing his law and order agenda hard. And the question is, will it resonate with voters? Is it resonating with voters? I don't know. What do you think, Joy?
Well, I don't know. It could be. I mean, who knows what's going to happen there. I'm more worried that Trump could pull this off, though, because of various reasons. I mean, we all see the polls, and we see that Biden is ahead. But the Russian interference is alive and kicking. Facebook is continuing to leave all the lies on the pages. The Postal Service is being interfered with. We've seen USPS mailboxes being rounded up and mail sorting machines deactivated. So there's a lot of cheating. And on top of that, and I'll make this quick because the five of us have to talk, the Electoral College, I think, is an issue and a problem. You know that in the history of the United States, there were 4 presidents who won without the popular vote because of the Electoral College. I think it's ridiculous that that a few states, a handful of states, determines my future. It's ridiculous. So why bother voting in the rest of the country? They need to change the Electoral College as soon as possible. That George Bush, Donald Trump, Benjamin Harrison, and the great Rutherford B. Hayes all won without the real backing of the United States of America. So there you have it.
Right. So given the civil unrest and police protests in America, which candidates' messages are hitting home with voters, Megan?
This is hard to sum up in a short amount of time, and I know we have 5 hosts now, but in the 6 weeks off during the break, it's been interesting to see the narrative shift in the Trump campaign going from his response to COVID and hitting Vice President Biden very hard on things like his son and him being old and Sleepy Joe to shifting to law and order. And I think if anyone watched the RNC, and I watched the full DNC and RNC, the RNC really hit this narrative home. They had the sheriff who was killed by looters, his wife and family on, talking about law and order. And there was actually a Politico article that came out yesterday that was talking about how this is a concern with Democratic strategists in swing states, specifically in Wisconsin, after everything everyone's been seeing in Wisconsin. And I actually this morning was watching Morning Joe, and Reverend Al Sharpton, of all people, made a really interesting point about how Democrats have to take this seriously. And we have the clip.
To take all policing off is something that I think a latte liberal may go for as they sit around the Hamptons discussing this as some academic problem. But people living on the ground need proper policing. Yes, we need more resources in different areas like mental health, but we do not need our grandmothers prey to those that are being the users of products of the big gun manufacturers in this country.
He went on to talk about attending the funeral of a child in the Bronx, a 1-year-old that was shot this summer, and started talking about how Democrats need to start taking this kind of narrative seriously because it is the one thing that is really making some headway with the Trump campaign.
Sarah, you think both candidates are playing to their base pretty much?
Well, as a voter, I do, because I tend to think that they're right on time with political strategy. I'm guessing as we're 2 months out from the election to fire up their bases. But as a voter, I'm not seeing a lot of nuance from either candidate. I feel like I'm hearing a lot of partisan rhetoric, which is difficult. But to second what Megan said, I actually think with their messaging right now, President Trump stands to inch in the polls because law and order is also public safety. It's a basic right in this democracy. And I think a lot of people are hearing it that way, that their own personal safety, that of their families and their homes, is one of the reasons they live here in this country. So I do think it has a broader reach in messaging, possibly.
Sonny, you think you know who is more chaos theory than law and order?
Well, there's no question about that. We know that Trump is encouraging violence in America to just distract from his failures, right? And namely, his failure in managing this horrible global pandemic that has caused the death of 200,000 Americans on his watch. Let's us not forget, Whoopi, that it was a Trump supporter who killed 2 people in Kenosha, it was Trump supporters who carried guns to state capitals during the coronavirus shutdown. I think very well that suburban moms know that if they want their sons to be safe from violent militias and their parents to be safe from the coronavirus, and they want schools to be open safely, that they've got to get rid of Trump. And the polls are really showing that. The polls are showing, there was a Fox News poll actually that shows that in Wisconsin in particular, that by a 5 percentage point, those very same people in Wisconsin believe that Biden is safer for America. CNN poll, same thing. 5 percentage points, Biden is safer for America. So those suburban moms that Trump is really trying to play for in those swing states, they know that Trump is the more dangerous candidate for America, for their children, for their parents, for everyone.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's really important for people to recognize that when people celebrate the murdering of citizens, American citizens, whether you agree with them or not, when it's celebrated and people say, you know, it's really good. Who knows what could have happened to him if the looters and the protesters had caught him. This boy shot somebody, ran away. The people who were chasing him to get the gun, knock it out. The kid went to hit him with the skateboard to get that gun out of his hands, and he shot him. I want to know, are we going to talk about those kids? Yes, that's exactly who I'm talking about. Is there going to be a funeral for those people those were American citizens that were killed? I don't think the president's saying he thinks it's a good idea that this kid did what he did is a good thing. I don't think that's good for Americans. So regardless of what side you're on, no one should be getting mowed down in the street by other American citizens. That's not law and order. That's just people running amok doing things.